Like there were moments where, I mean, I'll just tell you this much. Most of my haters, most of the people who hate me are either misguided, misinformed, or have like preconceived biases. I'm sure there's like people who hate me for good reasons, right? Like, certainly. People who hate me for like ideological reasons. But in a lot of circumstances, it goes, hey, we need to have this conversation within the framework of not an 8-hour broadcast or even an hour-long coverage that you've dedicated to a particular matter, but this like specific thing that you said in one moment. I'm going to lock you into that as though your analysis begins and ends there. I'm also going to say there's no analysis or any information whatsoever that you bring to the table when you make an assertion. Sometimes it might be correct, sometimes it might be incorrect. We will never talk about the correct ones. We will only talk about the incorrect ones. And not even incorrect ones, but like statements that you've made where you've exaggerated. I, on the other hand, can exaggerate and lie and say you do on-the-ground reporting, use something out of context to say that you claim that all the time, keep repeating it back and forth to you. A couple things that haters say on a regular basis about me is that I am supposed to be some activist hero, some ascetic lifestyle leading socialist Jesus, if you will. Never made that claim. Don't believe that. I'm not that at all. As a matter of fact, I always say I'm a stupid guy. I'm a dumb guy. I'm a himbo. I'm a Twitch streamer. So oftentimes what ends up happening is like people will associate me with a value that they've ascribed to me, and then they'll yell at that value that they've ascribed to me. They'll be like, why are you claiming to be a socialist revolutionary figure who's LARPing as a hero while also simultaneously buying a Porsche? And I'm like, I'm not a socialist revolutionary hero or an activist at all. But it doesn't matter. My preconceived notion of you is that, and that's locked in. The other thing is I'm a reporter. I'm not a reporter. I've never said I'm a reporter. I've never said I'm a journalist. I'm a political commentator. So when you lock me into that box in your mind and I say, well, that's not the case, well, it doesn't really matter to you, does it? Is you're not in it for the truth, or you're not in it to like clear anything up. Right? So all of that stuff is usually where it begins and usually where it ends, unfortunately. The irony, of course, is that most people, I think that I just like make up stuff because they're only aware of the. Most people just don't really watch the entire stream or even a long period of time, or even my YouTube videos, where my thoughts are certainly much more, much more clearly defined on my YouTube videos that are better packaged. They don't want to watch that. They want to lock me into like you saying it's 100%. It's 100%. So here's the problem. I'm just a grifter, Hassan. Yeah, that's what I said. Thank you, Alien Milk. Thank you for your wonderful contribution. So I went back and watched the VOD last night. You said 90% for the most part. When you said 100%, it's like 100% Israel at this point because of the bombings in the area. They lied about being there. They weren't the same hospital, and they were going to bomb it. I know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because like he's like, oh, I got you. He also lied. Someone on my subreddit, actually, the last remaining debate pervert that we haven't banned in this community, actually put together like a timeline of like why this was so fucking stupid. Because right off the gate, he was like, you lied about explain. Oh, with clips and everything. This is like an actual fucking debate lord who like went through it and put it down piece by piece. Instantly lied at the start. Hassan has apologized and corrected himself about Russia's invasion. But then he was like, well, it wasn't good enough, your apology. Second lie, Kyiv was bombed on February 24th. He's using Hassan's commentary on February 22nd. Third lie, October 17th. Originally, Bibi said it's hard to see what else could really be the size of the explosion other than an Israeli airstrike or several other airstrikes. It was not hearsay, as he claimed. Fourth lie, Hassan never apologizes 2x. If you repeat a lie enough, oftentimes, is it true? So that was the funniest part about this, the hospital explosion category, because he literally didn't even know the BBC had said that the hospital was very likely bombed by the IDF. It's completely understandable that everyone thought at the time that the hospital was 100% conclusively bombed by the IDF. Why the fuck would you not think that? I don't think that it's anything to apologize for, as a matter of fact, especially considering that Israel never disproved that it didn't bomb the hospital. So, important to recognize every single piece of information that they gave, other than the assertion that it was an Islamic Jihad rocket that misfired, was immediately disproven time and time again. Fifth lie, claims Hassan doesn't moderate for Ethan. He does obviously for Ethan especially so. He admits to lying multiple times. Yeah, he said that I was a reporter. I've never said that. Like, it was most likely a misspeak that he just openly admitted he openly admitted was a, sometimes I like to exaggerate for fun. He said he was being facetious. Eighth lie, claims to know what mods are banning, clearly clout farming. The meme went from not that much evidence to not 100% basic sophistry. Offended on behalf of Ethan, but didn't watch the conversation. After Hassan explained covering police testimonies, Willie's immediate pivot was towards the chat posting breaking news despite the Fossabot receipt. I'm not 100%, not 99% certain this isn't about ethics of research, but instead drama grooming, edited the 411 lies. So that's basically it. I mean, there's no standard of proof on his side. He can just say whatever fucking fallacious claims he wants to. He openly recognizes that he's a drama farmer and his video is a drama video. But ultimately, it was just, you know, it was good for at least some people to understand that, you know, a lot of these guys and their claims do not come from like a real place of valid concern. They might present it as such. Okay? They might present themselves as doing such a thing, but that's not the fucking case. It's just Keemstar level drama farming. And this is the reason why I usually don't engage unless it's on a particular matter. You know what I mean? If it's Israel-Palestine, we could talk about that all day, every day. Ask if he'll be adding corrections like the responsible thing to do. Yeah. That's exaggeration, and that's how you do propaganda. And you've been very open about doing propo. No, but that's not like just to simply state that like, oh, I'm a propagandist, which means like I'm going to give you incorrect information is bullshit. I'm not going to give you incorrect information. I'm going to give you correct information, and sometimes my analysis off of that, my analysis will usually be sound. However, I might get something wrong. In most circumstances, I don't, and that's precisely the reason why these guys, after 2,000, 3,000 hours of footage, can only basically find 3 separate instances that they hammer over and over again. Think about that for a second. I've been covering breaking news / news in general and offering political commentary on it because I'm not a fucking journalist. I'm a Twitch streamer for 5 years now, nonstop, but specifically doing it full time every fucking day since 2020. That's 3 years now, about to go on my 4th year. And the only thing they can grab onto is like 3 moments that are entirely out of context when you look at the body of work that I've put forward. And all they have to do is go, la, 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 la. I can't hear you. I do not care about the frame. I do not care about the analysis. I do not care about the information. I don't even have any personal, genuine ideological positions that I care about. You did say you do reporting on the ground, under the context, but it's in his video, regardless he's a drama pervert. It has to be a misspeak. I didn't watch the video, and I will not watch the video, but everybody knows that I do not say that I'm an on-the-ground reporter. I'm not an on-the-ground journalist at all. The only time that I've done on-the-ground reporting is from a picket line. That's it. Beyond that, I don't do that at all. I've gone to a QAnon rally, and I've gone to a picket line. But that's pretty much it. So it's either in the context of me talking about that specifically, or it's me basically saying I use on-the-ground reporting, and I misspoke, and people are fucking, using that. It was a misspeak. You immediately corrected. It was in his own video. Oh, okay. That's great. Yeah. I use on-the-ground reporting when I am covering the news. That's it. But again, it's very like... ultimately, it's silly bitch shit. So, he was literally mad that you speculated on the news, which is literally your job. I know. It's no more speculation allowed. Not allowed. Just to show how useless these kinds of debates are, people are already claiming you didn't debate the right guy. I know. Immediately, when it doesn't go the way that they want, they will find different reasons as to be like, well, that wasn't the right guy. That was the wrong guy. There's a right guy out there, I promise. You'll find the right guy one day, but that wasn't the right guy. There's another guy. Here, let's find another guy. Not, that doesn't change. That's always the same shit. The one he's talking about wasn't a misspeak. I think you were being sarcastic to a chatter when you very openly right after said, I'm speaking to on-the-ground reporters right now, so it's a null point anyways. The guy is just a drama farmer. Oh, okay. I don't know. I mean, again, like I said, guys, I speak for 10 hours every fucking day on political issues. I'm sorry, but if you think that, like, I'm not going to misspeak on any of those moments, or I'm not going to actually fucking say something sarcastic that you can easily take out of context, yeah, you can do that. You can always do that. Part of the reason why I don't usually like debating bad faith people in general, especially those who have no like genuine political perspectives, is because they have no skin in the game. They don't actually care. And ultimately it's just to do shit slinging and to be like, you're a bad guy. You're a bad guy, and here is why, because you misspoke here. Or I found this one clip from fucking 10 hours of coverage where you said something that I can use against you because I have no interest in like genuinely understanding your perspective. That's it. You only do that when fucking 4,500 children have been ruthlessly slaughtered over the course of a month and a half, when you don't really care about anything other than just saying, well, you're a bad guy. And that's it. And if you think that that is the case, then I don't really know what to tell you. All right. These arguments attempt to paint you as a bad figure for people to look up to, when in reality, we aren't rabid morons that will immediately act on your criticism of someone like rabid Trumpers do. Yeah. So. Yeah. It usually revolves around getting tone policed by dudes who will say the N-word, but then will complain when you say cracker. It's the same principle always. You can very easily understand it. I have watched your coverage almost every day since the Israel-Hamas war. Gaza, for the record. It has been unbiased in the facts with historical context. Even on the day of the Al-Shifa hospital bombing confusion, you said you didn't have all the facts and even told Chad not to presume anything, even though all previous evidence made you feel like it probably came from Israel. Willie is a moron. Yeah. The greatest answer to that for someone who truly wants to understand the truth is to just watch a YouTube video of mine. That's it. Just watch, like, unless you're invested in like the fuck Hassan ship at that point, that ship might have been sailed. Maybe you're a former fan. Maybe I banned you. Maybe I said something you didn't like. But beyond that, if you truly are like, well, a lot of these guys are saying these things, let me just take a look for myself. Just watch the video on the subject matter and you will understand that. Also, I've been very consistent for the past 10 years. And I've been very consistent even on my opinion on debates.
Community know your position. If you keep getting stuck on it so much, it shows that you seem triggered, therefore losing in the marketplace of ideas, which, by the way, is also indicative that, like, most people's understanding of debates are fucking idiotic. Further evidence that debates are not good for arriving at the truth and just simply about overwhelming your opponent rhetorically.
Yeah. There you go. It's been the case for a very long time and still is. All right. Let's get to the news. Oh, wait. Did I blast off? I forgot to blast off, didn't I? Holy fuck. Been a moment here. Okay. IDF findings from Al Shifa Hospital. Xi Jinping is in California. Daily Ben Shapiro drama. And more. Get in now. Dude, I'm stoked. The March for Israel was a hate rally? Yeah, of course it was. What do you mean? 1,000%. Guys, listen. I'm willing to make the claim that, like, yes, you can still be someone who's like, yeah, I think Israel's great. It should exist, and be like a nice person. Okay? Or people who live in Israel who are like peace activists and shit. Okay? The problem is, right now, going to a march in the United States of America during a endless bombing campaign, an ethnic cleansing campaign, and turning around and being like, no, we have to do more bombing of children. Well, yeah, of course it's a fucking hate rally at that point. And yeah, they literally had like genuine hate mongers. There were Kahanist, Jewish Defense League people there. There were like actual fucking terrorists at the rally, okay? Not my designation alone, okay? Like straight up. If the government already agrees with you, what the fuck are you protesting? Anyway, here it is. The government already agrees with you. It's just that the overwhelming majority of the public doesn't agree with you, at least not in ceasefire, right? Are you calling Van Jones a terrorist? Yeah, because he's a Maoist third worldist. That's why technically I'm calling him a terrorist, yes. This is real. It's going to happen. We won't be leaving the streets this week. Shutting down when we can around APEC here in SF. Can you tell Xi to lean into the mic? I can't hear him. Yeah, classic. They had a preacher who blamed Jewish people for the Holocaust give a speech. Yes, they had John Hagee, which I've talked about before a lot on this broadcast over the course of the past week, for the past couple of weeks, when the fucking UN, the Israel ambassador to the UN went to his psychotic freak televangelist church and delivered a speech to a bunch of evangelical Zionists. You know? Anyway. Oh, I can't believe you were hanging out with Xi Jinping. That's so cool. Thank you. Call Bradley Martin and get him to talk with the Nelk boys and have them talk to Trump to get you an interview with Daddy Xi. This collab at the rally. Damn, all the besties are out today. All right. We'll start off with that one. The Nation wrote an article called "The March for Israel Was a Hate Rally. What kind of gathering against anti-Semitism invites anti-Semites?" True. Oh, fuck. I can't read this. Oh, Kai is back. And my mom is back. Has Xi been viciously attacked? We don't have does anyone have the fucking way to avoid this? Okay. Oh, never mind. I got it. Hacker man. So, the final estimated head count of the Jewish what am I saying? The final estimated head count of the pro-Israel rally in DC was 200 fuck, I can't even read, dude. 290,000 people. Sorry, hold on. Let me get Kaya real quick. Makes this the largest Jewish gathering in history since Mount Sinai. I'm like skipping fucking goddamn sentences. So chortled Trump's former ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, about the March of Israel gathering held Tuesday on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Although Friedman's number appears to be inflated, I saw a massive turnout. Oh, wait. Anne dikkat edin, Kaya'ya dikkat edin yanınızda. Ben yemek yesin diye dışarıya bıraktım. Ya da can you bring her food here? Kaya, come. Girl. Good place. She looks like a pony. She's big. Watch Willie clip this as proof that you're a lazy streamer. Okay, stop. Let's not even talk about this fucking loser anymore. We're done with that. Right here. Does Kaya respond in Turkish? No, I did not train her in Turkish. She doesn't speak Turkish at all. Anyway, I think there's a democracy now. There's a Democracy Now video on this, I think, right? We can get started on that front at least, maybe. Yeah, this is psychotic. I saw this as well. I hate talking to people who are not autistic sometimes because I am, and they always look at me like I got 5 eyes and 2 heads, annoying, but maybe that's just how it is sometimes. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? What? Okay. TikTokers are voting Jank 2024.
Okay, you guys, listen. Don't fight with me. Don't tussle with me. Okay, I'm just trying to have a conversation. All right, I'm just trying to ask a couple of questions. All right, what are we doing in 2024? Okay, because listen, it's clearly evident Joe does not have another 4 years. Joe barely has another 4 minutes. Let's just be clear. Okay, Williamson, old girl, she didn't secure the nominee last time when she ran. She was talking all types of crazy. I'm gonna say his name wrong. Uyghur. I've seen I've seen things that he said before, like on Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that for years, because I know he's on that show on YouTube. I believe it's called Young Turks. I actually do like him. And then Phillips, if you don't know Phillips actually has a seat, or had a seat, but he is walking away from it because he wants to run against Joe, because he doesn't feel that Joe is fit to stand for another 4 years. Now,
that's crazy.
For the Republicans, you guys, listen. Vivek wants to raise the voting age to 25. He wants everyone to take a civics test. The only way that you could vote is if you pass a civics test. My question is this. Are we still going to be drafting for the Army at 18 then? If I can't vote, are you still going to draft me at 18? That's a little crazy. Vivek is also the same person who says that he doesn't believe or support identity politics, yet he took a minority scholarship from a George Soros foundation. Yeah, so there's that. As far as Ron DeSantis goes, you guys, listen, I'm in the state of Florida. That man should never be allowed anywhere near the White House. I don't even want him in the governor's mansion, okay? We have no homeowners insurance in the state of Florida. He's not here. Literally, the Congressional House of Florida wrote him a letter pretty much like, hey, look, it ain't falling through what you're doing, so you need to go ahead and bring your ass back home because we got stuff to do. His own party in the state of Florida isn't even supporting him. If you ask the average Republican in the Congressional House in the state of Florida, they all tell you that they're supporting Donald Trump. How embarrassing. Your own people are like, yeah, we're going with the other guy. Crazy. Hutchinson, Binkin, Burgum. I don't know who any of those people are. Chris Christie. His only campaign tactic right now is
no. She said, I don't know who Burgum is. Burgomaniacs. We have failed. We failed to make Burgum an entity. Okay. We have failed. As a Burgomaniac, I take responsibility for the failure of the Doug Burgum campaign.
going at Donald Trump. That's going to
Us
get old.
burger
It's getting
heads
old.
thought he would
Tim
fucking
Scott,
rise.
Nikki Haley. Trump, really? I mean, everyone wants Trump, to be honest with you. You guys' last hope is Nikki Haley. I'm just being honest. I'm just keeping it a bean.
She's 100% correct, by the way. What profound analysis. God damn.
I need to do more research on Cornel West. I don't really know a whole lot about him. I know some things, but I need to do more research on him. And then as far as Kennedy is concerned, you guys, this man has literally said that transgenderism comes from people licking frogs. So my question is, what are we doing? I feel like for the umpteenth billionth time, we're going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. What are your thoughts? Be respectful.
Yeah, I've seen the memes of like, don't care, still voting jank. She stays spitting, put some respect on my girl's name. I don't know anything about TikTok. I don't watch TikTok, but goddamn, like that was correct. All right, let's get started with my girl, with baby girl Amy Goodman, the
Pastor
goat,
John Hagee, who once said God had, quote, sent Hitler to help Jews reach the promised land. This is part of what he said at Tuesday's march in Washington.
Baby girl, my queen.
Israel is the shining city on the hill. Israel says, God says of Israel, Israel is my firstborn son.
It's pretty funny that people liked what he had to say more than when Van Jones had the audacity to say he likes peace and there should be a ceasefire.
Jerusalem is the city of God. Jerusalem is the shoreline of eternity. Jerusalem is the eternal capital of Israel today and forever.
Other high-profile speakers at Tuesday's protest included Senate Majority Leader.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking insane when you have like a bunch of Democrats and some Republicans as well side by side at a fucking hate rally where they're standing next to an absolute monster, okay? A complete psychopathic monster. John Hagee is insane. And in every other circumstance, the media would have absolutely covered it. Okay? They would have covered that shit. Look at this. Here, John Hagee on the news. The coverage is lackluster, okay? John Hagee's March for Israel speech was odd given his anti-Semitic remarks. First of all, not even odd. Like, can you imagine Donald Trump side by side with a dude who said Hitler was Jewish and that the Holocaust happened so all of the Jews could go to Israel? Like, can you fucking imagine? There is no way the liberal media would let that go. But Chuck Schumer goes up there and fucking talks next to this dude at the rally. Yeah, he literally, John Hagee has said things like Hitler was half-breed Jew, okay, and that he did the Holocaust and it was like God sent. He also said Hitler was a half-breed Jew just like Karl Marx, and both of them are Antichrist. Completely insane, okay? Completely insane. And of course, he was there. Guess who? You know, of course he was there. Always with the whataboutisms. Yeah, I know. He was too anti-Semitic for the John McCain campaign. Like, John McCain was like, listen, I am aligning with the Tea Party. I am going to make my vice president the stupidest person I can find. And even that fucking guy was like, no, dog, you're out of your mind, actually. What an outrage. Listen to John Hagee, a fucking anti-Semitic, Islamophobic ghoul, address the rally in D.C. Yeah, I don't understand, like, why people say, wow, I can't believe this. I can't believe people are, like, hanging out with John Hagee. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Every fucking Israeli official has, like, linked up with this dude. Every right-wing Israeli official loves this dude. What the fuck what are you talking about? The guy who is the UN ambassador to Israel was literally in his church, in his mega church 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. He flew in and he went to wherever the fuck this demon lives. I think Texas. 2 weeks ago. In between slapping on the Star of David whenever he's talking, the yellow Star of David patch to invoke the Holocaust to continue defending his baby murder campaign. He fucking turned around, flew to this goddamn psychopath's mega church, and like, and then and was like, you know, defending him. San Antonio, for that matter. Thank you. And it's so shocking to have people go, like, in this entire thread, it's like, what the fuck? Why on earth would they give an anti-Semite a platform for Israel? Very confusing. Very confusing. I don't get it. Like, what's happening? What? Meanwhile, remember. You have, like, one fucking guy, okay? You have one guy, not in like an ordained or you know, seriously organized thing. God forbid you have one fucking dude who says something insane. And there are plenty who do. Okay? At a pro-Palestinian rally. Oh my God. Everyone goes to jail. Everyone has to go to jail. River to the sea is illegal. Fucking from the river to the sea, genocidal. Genocidal statement. Sorry, can't have that. Meanwhile, how many from the river to the sea, Israel is ours signs did you see at this goddamn rally? Especially when you consider that this rally was for more baby killing, please. Like, that's insane. Why is everybody reading A Letter to America? They're getting radicalized. What the fuck is happening to the youth? What are you talking about? What Osama bin Laden? Like, what letter to America? It's going off on TikTok? Wait, no shot. They removed it. Wait, what? This full page previously displayed a document containing in translation the full text of Osama bin Laden's letter to the American people, as reported in The Observer on the 24th. This document, which was published here on the same day, was removed on the 15th of November. Wait, what? What is happening? Why did The Guardian delete this? It's not even young kids either. It's like people in their mid-20s. I don't get it. What's going on? You do not, under any circumstances, have to hand it to Osama bin Laden. Okay? The fuck are people saying? First of all, he's insane. What are we talking about? He's America's guy. What? To the American people, peace be upon those who follow the righteous track. Hereafter, the subject of my talk to you is the overwhelming control of capital and its effect on the ongoing war between us. By the way, love Osama bin Laden saying the overwhelming control of capital. He's literally like a developer, a real estate developer's son, okay? And not only that, but also just entirely fucking removed from any sort of materialist analysis, okay? His claim to fame was literally fighting socialists. He was armed and trained and given weapons and hailed as a hero for killing communists. Okay? Make no mistake. I direct my talk specifically to those who support real change, especially you. I say from the onset, your former president warned you previously about the devastating Jewish control of capital. Exactly. This is what I mean. Why the fuck would you take this shit seriously? Yeah. Real anti-capitalist hero Osama bin Laden, dude. And about a day that would come when it would enslave you, it has happened. Your current president warns you about, anti-capitalist hero, but for some weird reason, one, most famously, killed commies. Two, was armed and trained by the American state. Three, had a network of operatives that were CIA, okay, that were either under the watch of the CIA or directly linked to the CIA, okay, and then immediately says Jewish control of capital. What Jewish control of capital, dog? Fuck you mean? What are you, like a big truther when it comes to just like WASPs owning capital? You're like, only Jews are not allowed to have capital. Is that what it is? Yeah. It's great. anytime dumb motherfuckers are like, oh, Jews have capital. Ooh, that's weird and scary. I'm like, what are you doing? What planet are you living on? What planet are any of us living on? Okay? Like the idea that like Jews are monolithic and they're operating with a similar interest, a similar goal across the board is utterly ridiculous. And not only that, but Jews do not operate for Jews. They operate just like every other fucking capitalist operates. Jewish capitalists operate as capitalists, not Jews. Just like WASP capitalists. Just like Muslim capitalists. Okay? What the fuck? There might be deviations from the norm, but that doesn't fucking mean anything. Overall, people are self-interested. Jews being a shadow cabal is my favorite brain dead conspiracy. I mean, it's the conspiracy. Anyway, an observer of the policies, blah, 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 blah. What is this? What? God's law. Well, it has happened. Your current president warns you about the enormity of capital control in a cycle whereby it devours humanity when it's devoid of the precepts of God's law, Sharia. The tyranny of the control of capital by large companies has harmed your economy as it did ours. Yeah, he was he was actually trust busting when he busted into the World Trade Center. He was like, it's really bad. Corporate consolidation is creating greedflation in America, and left unchecked is going to really ruin the lives and the material conditions of American citizens. That's why we have to fucking do 9/11. Anyway, tens of millions of you are below the poverty line. Millions have lost their homes, and millions have lost their jobs to mark the highest average unemployment in 60 years. Your financial system in its totality was about to collapse within 48 hours had not the administration reverted to using taxpayers' money to rescue the vultures by using the assets of the victims. What is this? As for us, our Iraq was invaded in response to pressure from capitals with the greed for black gold. And you continue to support the oppressive Israelis in their occupation of our Palestine in response to our pressures on your administration by a Jewish lobby backed by enormous financial capabilities. An observer of the policies of the new administration. Is this the part that people are reading on TikTok? Is that what it is?
I need everyone to stop what they're doing right now and go read. It's literally 2 pages. Go read A Letter to America. And please come back here and just let me know what you think, because I feel like I'm going through like an existential crisis right now, and a lot of people are. So I just need someone else to be feeling this too. I'm a big believer.
Bro, people need to stop. What is going on, dude? What? While seeking Allah's help, we form our reply based on the questions directed at Americans. Why are we fighting and opposing you? What are we calling you to, and what do we want from you? As for the first question, why are we fighting and opposing you? The answer is very simple. Because, one, you attacked us and continue to attack us. You attacked us in Palestine. Palestine, which is sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years. The British say, dude, I'm sorry, okay? Saudi motherfucker with a CIA budget turning around and being like, I'm fighting for Palestinians is the funniest thing you can ever say, okay? These motherfuckers literally had backing from the Saudi kingdom, okay? Excuse me, where the fuck are you fighting for Palestinians? I'm sorry. Get the fuck out of here. And Americans read that, and because they have no understanding of like Saudi Arabia's relationship with Israel, Saudi Arabia's relationship with America, and they go, wow, that's crazy. He's saying he's fighting, you know, he's fighting for Palestine. He's really mad for Palestine. What the fuck are you talking about? Palestine, which is sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years, the British handed over Palestine. Yeah, like he's padding the deck. Okay? He's padding the deck with like things that reasons as to why he's doing this. Time for a Hasanabi TikTok on this? Yeah, I know. I don't. I mean, Jewish capitalists are a bit different in that regard. Their capitals were buying land in Palestine pre-declaration to build early settlements, and Herzl offered to buy land from the Ottoman Empire. Isn't that different? Fuck no, it's not. What are you talking about? What do you mean? First of all, no, it's not different at all. The fuck? Yeah, dude, it's different when Jews want to buy land as opposed to anyone else. Like, what are you talking about? No. Zionism in its inception, and I've talked about this history so fucking much, okay? Zionism in its inception is a nationalist movement. However, it's a nationalist movement on territory, and there were plenty of other territories they looked at as well. It's a nationalist movement on territory where people were living. And the way that it started off was with a colonial Western superpower forcibly displacing people that used to live there. That's the problem. It's funny to think that this is like somehow unique. It's unique in the sense that, I guess, it's settler colonialism, but this time the settlers that are settling there aren't coming specifically from one area, but from numerous different countries. But I guess that's not so different than settler colonialism in America either. Anyway, important to say that the letter to American people was found in his compound, released by the U.S. government, not from the 9/11 era. Oh, he wrote this and then he didn't release it. He was shy. He was too shy. He was a shy bean. Small bean Osama bin Laden. Anyway, the creation and continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals. And of course, there is no need to explain and prove to the degree of American support for Israel. The creation of Israel is a crime which must be erased. Each and every person whose hands have become polluted in the contribution towards this crime must pay its price, and pay for it heavily. It brings us both laughter and tears to see what you have not yet tried, tired of repeating your fabricated lies of the Jews of historical right to Palestine as it was promoted to them in the Torah. Anyone who disputes them or is alleged fact is accused of anti-Semitism. Yeah, Osama bin Laden was a campus activist, folks. Osama bin Laden was like, I'm side by side with the Jews for peace. I am big on anti-Zionism, and it is not anti-Semitism. It's very fucked up. There is no justification in the Torah. This is one of the most fallacious, widely circulated fabrications of the history. The people of Palestine are pure Arabs and original Semites, as the Muslims who are the inheritors of Moses, peace be upon him, and the inheritors of the real Torah are not changed. Muslims believe in all the prophets, including Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad. I mean, this part is just like true, correct, or at least it is the Islamic interpretation. Most have been promising a right to Palestine in the Torah that the Muslims are not worthy of the nation of this. When the Muslims conquered Palestine and drove out the Romans, Palestine and Jerusalem returned to Islam, the religion of all the prophets, peace be upon them. Therefore, blah, 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 blah. 3, the blood pouring out of Palestine must be equally revenged. You must know that the Palestinians do not cry alone. Their women are not widowed alone. Their sons are not orphaned alone. B, you attacked us in Somalia. You supported the Russian atrocities against us in Chechnya, the Indian oppression against us in Kashmir, and the Jewish oppression against us in Lebanon. Under your supervision, consent, and orders, the government of our countries, which acts as agents, attack us on a daily basis. The governments prevent us, our people from establishing the Islamic Sharia, using violence and lies to do so. The governments give us a taste of humiliation and places us in a large prison of fear and subdual. The governments steal our ummah's wealth and sell them to you at a paltry price. These governments have surrendered to the Jews, handed them most of Palestine, acknowledging the existence of their state, dismembered limbs of their own people. The removal of these governments is not an obligation upon us and a necessary step to free the ummah, to make the Sharia the supreme law, and to regain Palestine. And our fight against these governments is not separate from our fight against you. Damn, he fucking had a typo in there.
My voice just wants to leave you.
Bro, people need to stop. This has 12,000 likes. What is going on? No, guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, okay? Mr. America Deserved 9/11 has to make a statement here. Osama bin Laden was not right. What the fuck are you saying? What is happening, dude? What is going on in the world? Everyone needs to fucking dial it back 1,000 steps. Oh my God, the Zoomers are off the bean. What the fuck is going on? Hello? I think a lot of people did not understand. Reportedly, the IDF just arrived at the southern part of Al-Shifa with bulldozers. I don't know what the bulldozers are there for, but if they're going to do some digging or something, thank you, Elant News, for the update. We'll get to Al-Shifa in a second. Turns out Turns out we have a situation here. Turns out we have a situation here. What is going on? People act like capitalism depends on religion. All capital owners do the same shit everywhere. All they know is serve ad breaks, obviously. Fuck you. God damn it. God fucking damn it, dude. Oh, yeah. We're going to do the IDF video in a second. We're going to go through the IDF video in a second. What the fuck? Why are there people saying this? This is so crazy. Everybody needs to dial it back.
People reading Bin Laden's letter to America for the first time, and they're feeling like shocked and grossed out that it's as reasonable as it is in comparison to what they were expecting.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what she's about to say here, but part of it is literally because Zoomers are gonna turn you into Sam Harris. No, dude. The issue is when you fucking hit the maximum aggro note on mainstream media to like try and desperately craft a narrative for years and years and years, and then like they meet like an Arabic person who is just normal and chill. They go, what the fuck? I thought you were an animal. I thought you were a violent, rabid animal. And a lot of people don't understand this because the anti-Arab sentiment, oh, by the way, I'm running the ad break now. Fuck you, chatter. The anti-Arabic sentiment, the anti-Arab sentiment, the anti-Islam sentiment in America has always been closely associated with white supremacist values. That's why it's like easy to just like immediately dive into that. Except the problem is they had to teach that quick. They had to really ham that up. They had to dial up the anti-Islam, Islamophobia narrative so fucking quick. They had to crank it so high that there's going to be a whiplash when people realize like, okay, maybe these guys aren't like brutal, violent barbarians or whatever the fuck across the board. But there is no circumstance under which you go, oh, I thought Osama bin Laden was some fucking, barbarian monster warlord in the way that they presented him. And now I find out that he's capable of typing fucking letters. And all of a sudden that must mean that he's actually a good guy. Like what? Have I been told a lie all along? No, it doesn't work that way. Okay. Especially when you have to analyze the situation and what Osama bin Laden had done even before 9/11. The problem is, when I said America deserved 9/11, what I was talking about was blowback, okay? Which is a well-established concept that most academics agree on and most people agree on in general. It's a valid concept. It is a very real concept. What's going on? I don't know if she's trying to eat her food or not.
And I'm seeing a bunch of people in their comments being like, did you forget the violence? Did you skip over all the religious extremism? Did you miss that part? Did you forget what he did? And to those people, to anyone who would have that reaction, to seeing that reaction to bin Laden's letter to America, how do you respond to people who support the U.S. military? When you see somebody supporting the U.S. military, openly showing support for the U.S. military, are you vastly more disgusted with them? You ask them if they just haven't noticed all the religious extremism? Do you ask them if they've forgotten about all of the violence? Are you proportionately disgusted? Because you should be vastly more disgusted. If not, why isn't your reaction proportionate?
Okay, I mean, this part is okay, she's not as bad. I don't know why she's framing this in the context of like Osama bin Laden is right. I think the context should be Osama bin Laden is not right, and his justifications are simply a way to galvanize his position, to bring people to his side. But ultimately, it is about meddling in the affairs of the Middle East for far too long and having some of those guys that you fucking trained come back and strike you. This is a well-established concept, okay? This is a well-established concept in the intelligence community, but in general, okay? This does not mean that like what he did was good. This does not mean that he was like an honest, a brave warrior that was like fighting against American imperialism, okay? It doesn't mean any of that shit. Are these Osama vids on OP to make leftists look bad? No, I don't understand why people are trying to do post hoc justifications for it. I guess like the most charitable interpretation is that if everyone has been told they hate us because they ain't us their whole fucking lives about why like 9/11 happened, all of a sudden they turn around and go, oh wait, what the fuck? These guys actually had like a well-defined, they had like a couple of reasons, some of which I might even agree with personally. And that's because they didn't do any fucking reading leading up to this moment and have been guided by what America has written on the subject, what mainstream media has said on the subject. That's where this comes from. It's a clear-cut lack of education and only being fucking motivated by whatever the fuck you see. Whatever the fuck you see in the media, whatever the fuck you see in television, whatever you see is like being reinforced. So then all of a sudden when you realize like, wait a minute, there are some reasons as to why this happened that like it makes it understandable. You turn around and you go, oh fuck, maybe he was right. He's not. It's the funniest part of like, obviously the way that the media has presented Arabs in general and Muslims in general, and then like finding out that all of those Muslim leaders that don't dress in like Western garb and shit have literally gone to all of the best Western universities. You know what I mean? Did you cut ties with Ethan? No. What are you saying? Anyway, the removal of these governments is an obligation upon us. You steal our wealth and our oil at paltry prices because of your international influence and military threats. That's pretty funny to say that as well. Like, come on, dog. Like, he's not writing this in, guess what? Okay? There was a time and place where some of the stuff, not the fucking psychotic anti-Semitic bullshit, but some of the things he's saying here could have been seen as valid in like the 50s. He wasn't alive then, and when he was alive, when he was like, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, he was too busy killing Soviets. So what the fuck are we talking about here? Okay? Like, you can't write this 40 fucking years into OPEC and being like, they're stealing our oil. Like, brother, go deal with your own fucking people that are doing that then, okay? Because the fuck do you mean? Like, all of this shit has been well established at this point. Was he killing Soviets in Russia or Afghanistan? Afghanistan. And fought in the region anyway. Like, it wasn't just Afghanistan. Hassan talking about foreign policy, random chatter. So what I'm getting from this is you're no longer friends with Ethan. No, I don't know where people are getting that from. Your forces occupy our countries. You spread our military bases throughout them. You corrupt our lands and you besiege our sanctities to protect the security of Jews and to ensure continuity of the pillage of our treasures. You have starved the Muslims of Iraq, where children die every day. It is a wonder that more than 1.5 million Iraqi children have died as a result of your sanctions, and you do not show concern. Yet when 3,000 of your own people died, the entire world rises and is not yet sat down. You have supported the Jews in their idea that Jerusalem is the eternal capital and agreed to move your embassy there. With your help and under your protection, the Israelis are planning to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Under your protection of your weapons, Sharon entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque to pollute it as a preparation to capture and destroy it. By the way, remember when the Hasbara propaganda thing that we were watching? The Hasbara propaganda manual said that like Sharon literally fucking goose stepping at the Al-Aqsa Mosque wasn't a symbolic event that kickstarted the second intifada. Yeah, dude, this is, it's definitely important in the Muslim world in general. Okay, the idea that like that wasn't a flex that would have frustrated the Palestinians is ridiculous. Okay, Anyway. The tragedies and calamities are only a few examples of of your oppression and aggression against us. It is commanded by our religion and intellect and oppose the right to return the aggression. Do not await anything from us but jihad, resistance, and revenge. Is it in any way rational to expect that after America has attacked us for more than half a century that we will leave her to live in security and peace? You may then dispute all of the above does not justify aggression against civilians for crimes they did not commit and offenses in which they did not partake. Here's the thing. Wasn't he dead by the time we agreed to move your embassy there? That was under Trump. Yes, this is written. Like this was, I think, found after he was. Oh wait, no, this is from 2002. I guess not. This is the full text of the Bin Laden letter to America. This is the full text. This isn't the other one. Anyway, listen. The point is, why, the reason why I talk about like American interference globally, okay, and it is the exact same argument, okay. American interference globally and American coups globally lead to violence against Americans in general. It breaks our fucking moral core when we constantly live in a cycle of violence that we constantly live in a cycle of violence that we perpetuate and we justify over and over again. Okay? This is why I've said that living under an apartheid regime rots your core. It hurts you as well, sometimes through direct retaliation that is often violent, and the subjects of such direct violent retaliation, barbaric acts, are often innocent civilians, okay? But also through indirect ways that you cannot comprehend, like your psyche changing over the course of your existence, okay? This does not mean that you agree with Hamas, love their charter, any of those things. Just like I've mentioned October 7, how it did not happen in a vacuum, I've said the same things about 9/11, how 9/11 did not happen in a vacuum. Okay? You are the last ones to respect the resolutions and policies of international law, yet you claim you want to selectively punish anyone else who does the same. Israel has, for more than 50 years, been pushing the UN resolutions and rules against the wall with the full support of America. As for the war criminals, which you censure and form criminal courts for, you shamelessly ask that you are owned granted immunity. I love how tapped in he is to, like, American politics, by the way, where he's, like, talking about the invasion of the Hague Act and shit, I assume. However, history will not forget the war crimes that you committed against the Muslims and the rest of the world. Those you've killed in Japan, Afghanistan, Somalia, Lebanon, Iraq will remain a shame that you will never be able to escape. It will suffice to remind you that your latest war crimes in Afghanistan, in which densely populated innocent civilians were destroyed, bombs were dropped on mosques, causing the roof of the mosque to come crashing down on the heads of Muslims praying inside. You are the ones who broke the agreement with the Mujahideen when they left Kunduz, bombing them in Jangi Fort and killing more than 1,000 of your prisoners through suffocation and thirst. Allah alone knows how many people have died by torture in the hands of you and your agents. Your planes remain in the Afghan skies looking for anyone remotely suspicious. You've claimed to be the vanguards of human rights in your Ministry of Foreign Affairs issues in annual reports containing statistics of those countries that violate any human rights. However, all of these things vanished when the Mujahideen hit you, and then you implemented the methods of the same documented governments that you used to curse. In America, you captured thousands of the Muslims and Arabs, took them into custody with neither reason, court trial, nor even disclosing their names. You issued newer, harsher laws. What happens in Guantanamo is a historical embarrassment to America and its values, and it screams into your faces, you hypocrites. What is the value of your signature on any agreement or treaty? What we call you to, thirdly, is to take an honest stance with yourselves, and I doubt you will do so, to discover that you are a nation without principles or manners, and that the values and principles to you are something which you merely demand from others, not that which you must yourself adhere to. Like, move on. No one cares what this dumbass said. Clearly, a bunch of people on TikTok have read this, didn't realize that there were, like, didn't realize that, you know, Muslims are capable of forming justifications, okay, for their actions, and it's not out of pure barbarity, something that I've talked about quite literally a million times over, something that I fucking got canceled for saying, as a matter of fact, in 2019, okay? Years after the fact. Just because some of his grievances that he is mentioning here are correct doesn't change the violence of his actions and also the real motivations for why he was doing such things, because there are other places that he could be striking at instead of the United States of America. And also there are other additional motivations as well. Now, having said that, does he not care about the Vietnam struggle? Yeah, I mean, it's just, this is like, he's just piecing it together. The point is this. Osama bin Laden was not some like revolutionary figure. He was, again, he was an operator that the CIA gave funds to. His ranks were filled by those who had been trained by the American State Department. Why did they do this? Because he was seen as and don't take my word for it, take the word of the British press at the time, a weapon against the Soviets, okay? Why do I talk about all of these things and how America's actions globally will inevitably have worse consequences back on the United States of America if people don't listen to those takes at all and just simply go, no, this time it's different? Here, dude, this was on the newspaper, on the Independent. Anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace. The Saudi businessman who recruited Mujahideen now uses them for large-scale building projects in Sudan. Robert Fisk met him in Almaty. Osama bin Laden sat in his gold-fringed robe, guarded by the loyal Arab Mujahideen who fought alongside him in Afghanistan. Bearded, taciturn figures, unarmed, but never more than a few yards from the man who recruited them, trained them, and then dispatched them to destroy the Soviet army. They watched unsmiling as the Sudanese villagers of Almaty lined up to thank the Saudi businessman who was about to complete the highway linking their homes to Khartoum for the first time in history. Make no mistake, okay? Offshoots of his militia force, okay, or Al-Qaeda, are still in operation, and they still use American weapons, okay? There are offshoots upon offshoots like Al-Nusra that operates in Syria, which is aligned with Israel. Remember that, just like direct Al-Qaeda members have fought in Yemen using American weapons. We have almost never stopped arming Al-Qaeda. Okay, at no point in our history or time. When you recognize all of that and don't have a way to just like gently tie it all together, you are going to fall for psychopathic conspiracy theories, okay? Or even sometimes end up, I guess, agreeing with Osama bin Laden. There is a reason why I say all the time that, yes, there's a reason why America is bad, okay? When I say America bad, it's not just like, oh, America's so bad. Oh, I'm so woke. There's a reason. This is part of the reason. What is this? It's on the hunt on the big screen today. I don't know where this is, but I'm glad that I'm on the big screen talking about Osama bin Laden's letters. Anyway. I would say America is flawed but has a good heart. No, the American government does not have a good heart at all, and have not done good things in general. Okay? No, not at all. The American government operates as a vestige of the capitalist machine. Its imperialist actions are done at the behest of capital owners. Anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. Even Jimmy Carter? Fuck yeah, especially Jimmy Carter. With his high cheekbones, narrow eyes, and long brown robe, Mr. bin Laden looks every inch the mountain warrior of Mujahideen legend. Shadored children danced in front of him. Preachers acknowledged his wisdom. We have been waiting for this road throughout all the revolutions in Sudan, a sheikh said. We waited until we had given up on everybody, and then Osama bin Laden came along. Outside Sudan, Mr. bin Laden is not regarded with quite such high esteem. The Egyptian press claims he brought hundreds of former Arab fighters back to Sudan from Afghanistan, while the Western Embassy circuit in Khartoum has suggested that some of the Afghans, whom this Saudi entrepreneur flew to Sudan, are now busy training for further jihad wars in Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt. Mr. bin Laden is well aware of this. The rubbish of the media and the embassies, he calls it. I'm a construction engineer and an agriculturalist. If I had training camps here in Sudan, I couldn't possibly do this job. And this job is certainly an ambitious one. A brand new highway stretching all the way from Khartoum to Port Sudan, a distance of 745 miles on the old road, now shortened to 800 kilometers by bin Laden, a route that will turn the coastal run from the capital into a mere day's journey. Into a country that is despised by Saudi Arabia for its support of Saddam Hussein in the Gulf War, almost as much as it's condemned by the United States. Mr. bin Laden has brought the very construction equipment that he used only 5 years ago to build the guerrilla trails of Afghanistan. He's a shy man. They're glazing him up, dude. On Monday, the 6th of December, 1993. Why would they do such a thing? Why would the British press write such positive things? Why, oh, why? Why, oh, why would they do that? No, it's not 1995. It's 1993. Yeah, this is the article. The point is, if you are constantly meddling in the affairs of other governments and you use radicalized militant factions in an effort to achieve your goals and to destabilize countries, especially when said countries are also acting in an unruly manner, some of which were not, but the communist Afghan government certainly was. But taking advantage of that and pushing militia forces, the Mujahideen, radicalizing them, arming them in an effort to take pot shots at the Afghan government. And then ultimately, when the USSR invasion of Afghanistan begins, consistently funding them, offering them logistical support, and then just kind of leaving the country to them, is of course going to inevitably turn around and bite you in the ass when you're also continuing your occupation in both the region and even in that country as well. This is not that complex. Okay? This is the American modus operandi. This is what they've done time and time again. A great parallel to this quite literally is what we talked about with Hamas, an Islamist charity that was even originally funded by Israel, that was specifically propped up as the only party to negotiate with because Israel knew that everyone would look at them and go, well, this is just the type of terrorist that we are used to killing. These guys are. So any amount of violence, any untold amount of violence against or done to the Palestinians, as long as we slap the sticker that we're doing anti-terrorist activity in the region, will be considered just and moral. Except when you do that, there's fucking going to be blowback, and there's going to be a very deadly toll. Oh, the Soldier of Fortune magazine. What is this? Projecting so hard, man. No one like the Soviets ever in the region, but sure, any partner with the CIA or USA is just out of convenience. Anyway, let's agree to disagree. Wait, what? I can't tell what you're trying to say. Provably false that no one liked the Marxists in the region. Wait, what the fuck? I can't tell if the dude just said No, there was definitely a lot of momentum for communists in the region. The problem is the Afghan government did things that even the fucking USSR at the time considered to be insane. Okay? One of the major issues, in my opinion, within the USSR was consistently trying to fucking destroy, desperately trying to destroy any kind of religious momentum. Okay? Seeing it as like seeing it as a way to stop social cohesion from existing. It was a massive mistake. But the Afghan communist government worked so aggressively in that exact type of campaign that even the USSR was like, dude, you have to stop. The problem is, people can't look at the concept of blowback and understand it without just like still maintaining this black and white narrative of like good and evil. Okay? That's the issue here. If you are completely unfamiliar with all of the history that led to 9/11, and then everything you knew about 9/11 was that, well, they hate us because they ain't us. They hate us because they're like wild, bloodthirsty monsters, and they're simply operating from that framework, from that perspective. And then you all of a sudden find this secret truth that like, oh shit, there was actually some things that he said in this incredibly violent act that is reasonable from his perspective. Then you magically flip into the other direction and you go, well, America is the evil party and maybe Osama is the good party. That's not how this works. Of course they had fucking reasons. The whole point is trying to eradicate the reasons and not trying to deal with it militarily. That's why I advocate for the things that I do. The idea that like Osama bin Laden hated our free speech or hated our freedoms, all of this shit is so stupid. It was more than that. They wanted to destroy people's cultural histories. They changed the text of Farsi for the Tajiks and told them, no, you're not Iranian, you're a Tajik. No, you don't speak Farsi, you speak Tajik, and other examples. Anyway, please wrap up this Zoomer topic. I'm just saying, this is not just simply like TikTok Zoomers wilding out. There's a reason for why people have this kind of like whiplash. Okay? And I think that whiplash stems from people not really understanding the motivations behind certain actors that are anti-state, terrorists that have done really brutal and violent things. And ultimately, if you don't, if you just only do propaganda and you never show like what the real motivations might be for someone out of fears that you might have a bunch of people not understand, or the fears that you have are like, oh, well, if I fully grasp the situation, maybe I won't be so aggro in maintaining the war on terror. All of a sudden, years later, when people find out, okay, maybe that was a bit of a lie, especially when it's combined with the other lies that you've told to go into Iraq, for example, then you're going to go, okay, well, maybe the other side was right, which is crazy. It's why I get so tired of people trying to shush the conversation around the history around Gaza for decades and acting like it started on October 7th. Exactly. I don't think people are reading into this because they agree with bin Laden, but rather most people think that 9/11 happened because you said Arabs hate America, which is absurd. Exactly. That's my fear. And that's why I try to basically fucking describe these kinds of conflicts from the framework of like, it's not just good and evil. There's material reasons as to why these things are happening. And the actions of the American state are gross in most of the circumstance. And it's very radicalizing. It's very radicalizing to the people who are the recipients of said violence. If you want permanent security assurances, if you want permanent security in this region, you can't keep trying to deal with this militarily. Okay? There is no military solution to this. Think about it this way. Think about America's enemies turned allies post World War II. Like, America did the grossest thing it ever could to another country. Dropped 2 fucking nuclear bombs in Japan. But the permanent security assurances that they got from the Japanese wasn't because the Japanese were just terrified of America. It was also how much America spent on rebuilding the country in its own, obviously, in its own vision. And instead of doing things like that, instead of economic development, if you try to consistently deal with these countries with a military and forcibly keep these nation states undeveloped, if you pick winners and losers, okay, and then the losers and expect the losers to stay losers forever and not like make that occupation costly or make that violent incursion costly years later, well, you're wrong. Of course it's going to happen. Anyway, so yeah, he got a glaze-up job back then. His Bin Laden company, not to be confused with a larger construction business run by his cousins, is paid in Sudanese currency, which is then used to purchase sesame and other products for export. Profits are clearly not Mr. Bin Laden's top priority. How do you feel about Algeria, I asked. But a man in a green suit, calling himself Mohammed Musa, he claimed to be Nigerian, although he was a Sudanese security officer, tapped me on the arm. You have asked more than enough questions, he said, at which Mr. Bin Laden went off to inspect his new road. Having said all of that, let's talk about Joseph Robinette Biden before we get to the Al-Shifa Hospital, okay? Joseph Robinette Biden, or actually, you know what? Let's start with the Al-Shifa Hospital, and then we'll get to the other stuff.
I'm Kathy.
Because after multiple days, 2 weeks now, of on-the-ground invasion in Gaza, and multiple days of directly sieging the largest hospital in northern Gaza, Al-Shifa, the Israeli occupying force has finally went inside the hospital. They sniped at a paraplegic person. They sniped at nurses and doctors. They refused to let... Will you go back to the Democracy Now! Vid, Israel rally? Yeah, I will. I will do that. But let me do the Al-Shifa one first.
Catherine Biarohanga. We start with the developing situation at Gaza's...
After all is said and done, the Israeli occupying forces finally entered the Al-Shifa hospital.
Largest hospital. In the last half hour, the Israeli military has confirmed its operation against Hamas at the Al-Shifa hospital is still currently underway. Israel says the hospital conceals an underground command center used by Hamas, which is designated as a terrorist organization by the United Kingdom, United States, and several other countries. It's a claim doctors there deny. Meanwhile, in the US, the White House and the Pentagon say they now have intelligence that Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad are operating from tunnels below hospitals, including Al-Shifa, and that they're also storing weapons there. It's the first time they have backed up Israel's claims to this extent. Despite its new intelligence, the US says hospitals and patients must be protected. In a tweet, the Israel Defense Forces said, "We can confirm that incubators, baby food and medical supplies brought by IDF tanks from Israel have successfully reached the Shifa hospital. Our medical teams and Arabic-speaking soldiers are on the ground to ensure that these supplies reach those in need." The Israeli military said its actions at Al-Shifa are precise and targeted. The Gaza Strip has been under siege by Israel Defense Forces since Hamas launched its attacks in Israel on the 7th of October. Our correspondent in Gaza, Rushdie Abu-Alouf, has spoken to an eyewitness at the hospital.
I made another contact with the eyewitness inside the hospital. He said he saw 6 tanks inside the hospital and about 100 Israeli commandos, soldiers. They stormed the main emergency department of the hospital. He said...
if you listened to the actual doctors on the ground, they said they don't need incubators. They have incubators. They need fuel. And they need to be able to access the fuel. Okay? and they can't access the fuel, the little bit of fuel that they put outside of the hospital for Western PR purposes, because they were also simultaneously sniping after bombing and blowing up the hospital's solar panels. That's the issue. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I need you to understand they have no interest in like actually saving lives there. They never have. If they did, they would have never shut off the electricity and done a medieval siege on a densely populated urban area that they completely control. Okay? But you said they sniped a paraplegic person? Either the dude was... Hold on. That's what Felix said. They attacked nurses. According to Doctors Without Borders, the threat of snipers, according to Dr. Abu Silmeye, has prevented him and other hospital employees, patients, and at least 15,000 displaced individuals from leaving the facility. We have not been able to go retrieve the 2 dead bodies for fear of getting shot. According to Doctors Without Borders, in the last 24 hours, this was 2 days ago, Israel snipers shot inside the Al-Shifa hospital, killing 2 nurses and 4 patients, including a paraplegic man.
One person of them was speaking in Arabic, shouting at the people, don't move, don't move. And then they entered the hospital after 4 days of besieging the hospitals with tanks from all around it and cutting access in and out. Today, the BBC was told by 2 eyewitnesses inside that the Israeli soldiers are storming 5 buildings of the hospitals. One of the witnesses, he just told the BBC that I saw 6 tanks and about over 100 Israeli commandos unit entering the main department emergency room, and they were shouting in Arabic, don't move, don't move. He said there was some shooting around, and they fire a smoke bomb in the outskirts of the hospital, and then they started to move inside.
Well, thousands of people are believed to be in the complex. Here's more from our correspondent, Yolande Nell, who's in Jerusalem.
We're still relying on some eyewitness accounts from inside the hospital that tell us how in the dead of night Israeli forces entered. There were, they say, 6 tanks that went through into the front of the compound, more than 100 commandos, some of them masked, who were shouting in Arabic, don't move, as they entered the emergency department. This account from an eyewitness whose report we can't independently verify at the moment. But it's very clear that Israeli forces are on the premises working there. There was also someone from the Hamas-run health ministry who was speaking a short time ago in another television interview who said that Israeli forces had gone down into the basement of the hospital. This, of course, is where Israel has been saying consistently that it believes that Hamas has an underground tunnel complex it's been using, as well as some of the buildings of the hospital, it says, as a kind of command and control center. That is denied by Hamas, but also by the medics who work at the hospital. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a couple things we got to mention here. The Biden administration has tried the concealed weapons which it provided Israel for its war on Hamas, whatever. We're going to talk about that. But 2 things. One, visual investigation by the New York Times found that the Israeli shell strikes hit the largest hospital in Gaza. Israel said Palestinian militants had misfired projectiles, which, why did they say that? That's so odd. I thought Israel never hit hospitals. I truly don't understand that. Right? Israel said Palestinian militants had misfired projectiles, but analysis of videos and photos on Friday's strike shows that some of the munitions were likely fired by Israeli forces. So interesting. That's so odd. 1, Israel would never strike a hospital. 2, if Israel would never strike a hospital, and also on top of that, it's probably the Palestinians themselves that struck the hospital. And 3, if you claim that Israel actually struck the hospital, and then you conclusively show the evidence that Israel did, as a matter of fact, strike this hospital, as many others, Well, then ultimately that hospital deserved it. It had it coming. Okay? Just remember. Am I 100% sure? I don't know. But according to the New York Times visual investigation, they're the ones who, are reporting on this evidence. Okay? Minutes after 1 a.m. Friday, as active fighting raged between Israeli forces and Hamas militants, a projectile streaked over Gaza's largest medical complex and crashed into the center of the courtyard at Al-Shifa Hospital, a place where thousands of displaced Gazans had sought shelter. It landed just a few feet from Ahmed Hijazi, a social media personality who's been documenting the conflict. He filmed a video of the projectile flying in, and then a man of agony, his leg mangled by the impact. It was the first of at least 4 strikes involving multiple munitions on different sections of the sprawling complex between 1 a.m. and 10 a.m. Friday morning. Al-Shifa's director, Dr. Mohammed Abu Salmiya, said in a phone interview that 7 people had been killed and several others had been wounded. Hours after the final blast, the Israeli military blamed unspecified Palestinian militants, saying a misfired projectile aimed at Israel Defense Forces troops deployed nearby had instead hit the hospital. Where have I heard that before? Have you guys heard that before? But, I mean, it seems like they're not using the regular bombs that they use in other circumstances. So, certainly, this is, No, his leg is sliced in half intact, not blown apart. That's not from normal munitions. That's bladed munitions only. Yeah, the RX-9 rocket or whatever. But that's not the only munitions that they deployed or the only munitions that they use on the hospital. Just so you understand. Okay? So, that's one of the many. Anyway. But at least 3 of the projectiles that have struck appear to have been Israeli munitions, according to the pictures and weapons fragments collected and verified by the New York Times and analyzed by experts. The strikes did not cause mass casualties, but Israel's under increasing international pressure to avoid targeting hospitals. Al-Shifa has emerged as a particular flashpoint. Israel contends it has evidence that the hospital sits on top of an underground Hamas command center and has been warning those still inside to evacuate, even as its troops have been actively working to surround the facility. Hospital officials deny Hamas operates there and have said patients are dying for a lack of food, fuel, and other supplies. Israel's assertion that Al-Shifa was actually hit by a Palestinian projectile echoed similar and unresolved claims and counterclaims following munitions that hit the courtyard of another Gaza hospital, Al Ahli, nearly a month ago. Wait, I don't get it. I don't understand. I thought that was resolved. I thought that was definitely not Israel. I thought that was definitely Islamic Jihad, at least according to everyone that yelled at me for a month as Israel, continued shooting and blowing up medical professionals all across the Gaza Strip. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have. Over the 10-hour coverage I dedicated to the Al Ahli hospital bombing, I should have not said 100% right. I should have said 99% or 90%. Oh, wait, that's right. I did say that, actually. But it doesn't matter because the one time I said 100%, it's over. That's a good clip that you can use to just reaffirm your perspective. Anyway. The evidence, and I will say this once again, I will repeat what I said on the day of the Al Ahli strike. It is my assumption, given the overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence that points that in the direction of this being an Israeli attack, as they had attacked this hospital 2 days prior. They had used artillery on this hospital 2 days prior, as the fact that they told all the doctors to evacuate this hospital time and time again, that until there is third-party on-the-ground investigations that engaged in chemical testing and looked at the soil to conclusively give evidence as to what kind of munitions was used in this circumstance, I will, of course, land on the side of, once again, this being an Israeli bomb, an Israeli missile, an Israeli strike. And just, going to say that, just like I did back then and have repeated since then. Pedantry is a clip chimp's best friend. Yeah. Anyway. The evidence reviewed by the Times for the Al-Shifa points more directly to strikes by Israel, whether on purpose or by accident is unclear. In addition to the weapons remnants, an analysis of video footage shows that 3 of the projectiles were fired into the hospital from the north and south, contrary to Western trajectory indicated on a map released by the IDF, which it said was based on radar detections. A review of satellite images showed there were IDF positions north and south of the hospital early Friday. Wow. It's crazy. That's weird how that worked out. The strikes analyzed by the Times did not appear to be targeting underground infrastructure. 2 of the most severe strikes hit upper floors of the maternity ward. The IDF declined to comment on the evidence presented by the Times. It said that the Israeli forces have been engaged in an intense battle against Hamas and that because of the specific military activity currently underway, we are unable to address or confirm specific queries. The first projectile, filmed by Mr. Hijazi in the courtyard, was also captured by Saleh al-Jafarawi, a Gazan Instagram personality who has been camped out at the hospital for weeks. Mr. al-Jafarawi has been subject to various internet controversies for his prolific social media posts, which, by the way, that's a gross way to cover that. No, he hasn't been subject to various internet controversies. He's been lied about non-stop and endlessly in a way to reaffirm the horrifying narrative that Pallywood is a real thing, that like Palestinians are faking it. That's what the controversies are. He's been targeted by the Israeli government and has been used as an example of how Palestinians lie about their struggles under the occupation and the bombing campaigns of Israel. They're lying. They're making it up. That Israel isn't simply bombing these places, I guess, and it's all makeup. A review of Mr. al-Jafarawi's video metadata confirmed he filmed the scene immediately after the strike. He was filmed at the scene. In another video provided by Gazan journalist Motasem Mortaja, Mr. al-Jafarawi's videos on the scene match images taken by Mr. Mortaja and Mr. Hijazi and comport with the accounts provided by the hospital's director, weapons experts, and other witnesses. Mark Gerlasco, our GOAT, whose daughter may or may not be in the chat still, a former Pentagon senior intelligence analyst who now works at Human Rights Watch, who is their munitions expert, identified the projectile as the shell of an Israeli illumination artillery round commonly used to identify targets at night. This is the same type of artillery round that they used at the Al Ahli hospital. At the Al Ahli hospital, they had also used an Israeli illumination artillery round when they bombed the cancer ward at the Al Ahli hospital. Part of the reason why I thought that the Al Ahli courtyard bombing was also the doing of Israel. Richard Stevens, former explosive ordnance disposal soldier with the British Army, also identified it as an illumination round and noted the absence of a high explosive detonation upon the shell's impact. Sometime after 2 a.m., the hospital was hit again, this time explosive rounds that pierced the 5th floor wall of the maternity building. A video filmed in the immediate aftermath showed blankets, chairs, and shoes strewn around the room. Amid the debris were 2 metal fins that Mr. Garlasco identified as the tails of 120mm tank shells of a type used only by Israeli forces, not by Palestinian militants who don't have tanks. He said the damage to the room was very consistent with a 120mm HE tank shell, referring to high explosive shells. The tail fins you can see in this video right here. This is also the reason why I've said that in the Al Ahli hospital bombing, it was suspicious that Hamas could not provide evidence of any kind of additional, any kind of like fragments from the type of munitions that was used. Okay? Because there's always fragments. Nothing just like blows up and perishes entirely. The Times has established that these shells were likely fired from a southern direction towards the hospital. Again, contrary to the map issued by the Israeli military. Dr. Abu Salmiya, the hospital's director, said that a 61-year-old man had been killed in the strike and that 2 women had been injured. By 8 a.m., the same wing of the maternity building had been struck again. This time, a section of the exterior wall was blown out and the interior of the building was considerably damaged. This blast, Dr. Abu Salmiya said, ripped through the hospital, killing 3 people who had been sheltering inside and injuring others. Video filmed in the immediate aftermath showed extensive damage and dozens of people leaving the area. The hospital appeared to have been jammed to capacity when it was hit. Since the war began, hospitals in Gaza have been used not just to treat the wounded, but also to shelter thousands of Gazans. Videos filmed by a reporter working with Al Jazeera inside the hospital on October 30th, provided to the Times, showed women, children, and infants filling the corridors and stairwells of the maternity building. One video shows over 20 women and children camped inside the same area that appears to have been later hit by Israeli shells. Interesting. About an hour and a half after the maternity unit was hit for the second time, a projectile hit the other side of the hospital. Anyway, the point is, Israel blew up another hospital and then fucking lied about bombing the hospital. They absolutely target hospitals. They have since the beginning of this conflict, okay? And that they're bombing them indiscriminately. And also, on top of that, there is a very high bar that you have to clear to justify blowing up a hospital. Okay? You have to have more enemy combatants inside of the hospital than actual civilians. It is virtually impossible to reach this standard. Israel will say, oh, well, there's weapons inside that hospital, which means it's actually used for military purpose. That is not a high enough standard. Okay? That is not a high enough standard. Remember, there has to be actually like militants inside of the hospital and a gigantic amount of militants inside of the hospital. You have to be able to prove that this hospital is being used for a military operation, not post hoc, as you control the narrative. You blow up the hospital, then you go into the hospital, and then you say, hey, sorry, we found some weapons. Like, you have to show actual intelligence ahead of time. Can you hit a military hospital with only wounded soldiers? No, you cannot. You cannot hit a military hospital with only wounded soldiers. That is also a war crime. Exactly. That's the point. You cannot kill retreating militants that have put down their arms. You cannot kill wounded militants that are in the process of getting medical care and medical attention. You cannot do that. But that is precisely the reason why, and I will repeat this behind the paywall at the top of the hour, for all of those who want to see what I have to say. Okay? Wait, what is this? Gaza hospital blast? According to Al Ahly, I don't know if you saw this, but BBC actually got a photo of reportedly of a Hamas EOD teams at the crater impact, and one has their hands in the crater. Okay, I'll look at this in a second. But at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Okay? Okay, but isn't the best defense against virtual war crimes that haven't happened yet just more actual war crimes? Yeah. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. I forgot what I was going to say because Elint News sent me a link, and then I clicked on the link, and I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Anyway, according to international humanitarian laws, Article 19 in the Convention relative to the protection of civilians and persons at the time of war, wounded and sick, discontinuous of protection of hospitals. The protection to which civilian hospitals are entitled shall not cease unless they are used to commit, outside their humanitarian duties, acts harmful to the enemy. Protection may, however, cease only after due warning has been given, naming in all appropriate cases a reasonable time limit, and after such warnings have been remained unheeded. The fact that a sick or wounded members of the armed forces are nursed in these hospitals, or the presence of small arms and ammunition taken from such combatants and not yet handed to the proper service, shall not be considered to be acts harmful to the enemy. It feels like this is, directly written for Israel almost. Yes. You are not allowed to kill fleeing or retreating soldiers. You can capture them regardless, proving that you can provide the medical help they may need. You also cannot strike a hospital if there are actual militants inside of the hospital that are wounded and getting medical care. Now, of course, it's fucking pointless, but I'm just saying, for all the liberal squishes out there, Israel's justifications for why they're bombing the hospital is ridiculous. They do not have enough proof, enough evidence to be able to blow up a hospital. All of the evidence that they've pointed to is ridiculous. It's just suspicions. And in order to blow up a hospital, you have to clear an incredibly fucking high standard. Remember that international humanitarian law that I just mentioned to you as we move on to the videos that they've cut so far.
Today, interestingly, the US, for the first time, came out and said that it had its own intelligence sources corroborating those claims from the Israelis. We haven't seen any sort of visual proof up to now made public that this is the case. But the White House also said that hospitals and patients must be protected. And we think that within the Shifa hospital right now, there are, accounts vary, but between 2,000 and 4,000 people. The biggest number are people who went there originally to take shelter, but there are also, of course, doctors and patients who are being treated, some of them very vulnerable, including more than 30 premature babies who were taken off of the out of incubators because of the lack of power. And that's been a big focus of international concern, with suggestions they could be evacuated that haven't really come to any fruition. Israel has been saying consistently that it is willing to allow staff and patients to flee from the Shifa hospital in recent days, because this standoff has been going on for some time. But what Palestinians have said is that Israeli forces fired at some of those people who were leaving, that it was too dangerous also to move those most vulnerable patients.
Well, that was the BBC's Yolande Nell in Jerusalem. Well, for more on this story, let's go live now to Juliet Tuma, Director of Communications for the UN Works and Relief Agency for Palestine refugees. And Juliet, I just want to start by asking you what you make of events happening at Al-Shifa today.
We are watching with horror. We're watching these reports with absolute horror. Medical facilities should be protected at all times, but this is yet another indication that no place is safe, and no place, including civilian infrastructure like hospitals, like UN facilities, they've not been spared during this war.
And Juliet, I want to ask you about something specifically to do with the UN in Gaza. We're getting reports from Reuters news agency that a humanitarian aid source, has said Israel has given approval for 24,000 litres of diesel fuel to be used by trucks for UN operations in the Gaza Strip. Can you confirm this?
No, I cannot confirm this. I, like you, saw the Reuters report, and I can confirm that no fuel has come into Gaza to date. Per the statement that we put out last night, we confirmed that no fuel has come into Gaza since the war began. It's been 5 weeks now. And in fact, we at UNRWA are on the verge of having a significant reduction in our operations. And in some cases, if we do not get fuel, we will be forced to stop some of our operations that are life-saving.
But are there ongoing negotiations? Is there a possibility that an announcement could come soon allowing you to get fuel into the Gaza Strip?
There has been negotiations for many, many long weeks now about the issue of fuel. It is very simple. Fuel has been used as a weapon of war in Gaza. People have been deprived of basic services due to the lack of fuel. We at UNRWA have been calling to get an urgent shipment of fuel for the past 3 weeks, and it has been falling on deaf ears. And this is obviously putting a lot of pressure on us as the largest humanitarian agency to do our work. Without fuel, we cannot work. It's very simple. It's very, very simple.
Is it true that Israel built the tunnels under the hospital themselves in the 80s and 90s? Yes, there's a basement structure and a network of tunnels, just like there's a network of tunnels that exists in every other fucking hospital. There's service tunnels, for example. So like it's not out of the ordinary to have a basement in a fucking hospital. Okay? Yes, this hospital of course has a basement and a tunnel structure underneath it. Of course. And yes, it has been documented since the 80s that exists. From what I understand, according to Tablet Magazine at least, like an earlier reporting from years prior, the tunnel structure exists under the hospital because Israel built it. Obviously, yeah, American high schools have fallout tunnels in major cities. American hospitals have major tunnel systems underneath it. If you've ever been to Syracuse, for example, if you go to fucking Syracuse University, for example, there's a tunnel structure in every fucking campus. Why? Because there's 6 feet of snow for like 6 months at a time. There are many different reasons as to why tunnel structures exist, but it's a perfectly valid thing to have underneath a goddamn hospital. It doesn't mean that there's fucking terrorists in there, okay?
Simple.
Just tell us about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. We know what's happening in the north, the ongoing fighting. In the south, we hear it was a particularly rainy night, and it was quite difficult for a lot of people there in Gaza overnight.
Yes, look, the rain is going to make really desperate situation far worse, including for people who have been displaced, which is now more than 3/4 of the Gaza population. They have been forced to.
They built part of the basement under the hospital. That will be key if there's any Hamas-style tunnels with the arched roofs and narrow concrete passageways are evidence of new tunnels and bunkers or not.
Leave their homes. 800,000 of those are in UNRWA shelters. They are overcrowded. We don't not have fuel again, so we cannot provide.
That is at the Rochester Institute of Technology, not Q's. No, Syracuse has tunnels too. What are you talking about? I've literally visited the campus. I went from the ER at the University of Chicago Hospital to the OR via underground tunnels. Yep, there you go. A lot of terrorism happening in those tunnels. Now, of course, it wasn't mostly Arabs that were probably, pushing your stretcher from one place to the other.
Things like heating or clean water. This is why it's absolutely critical that fuel comes in, and it's not a one-off shipment, by the way. There needs to be shipments of fuel on a regular basis.
Anyway, very stupid stuff. But here's the Israeli Defense Forces propaganda, which we're going to be looking at now. We took a close look at this one-shot video from the IDF released at the Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza and shared in a tweet linked below. Despite stating that this video contains no edits, there's a clear edit in this mark. We have isolated the edit here.
One-shot video. One shot, no editing of all of the evidence that we have found just now in this building.
Now, here's the thing. Before they, went into fucking, before they went into the Al-Shifa Hospital, they claimed that there was possibly hostages in the hospital, despite the fact that there was no evidence to state that there were hostages in the hospital. But they said that regardless. Why did they say that? Well, because they wanted to justify sieging the fucking hospital.
Damn, this guy's good.